ho, ho, Merry Christmas! Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. Vixen and Blitzen and all of my reindeer are pulling on the rein. The bells are ringing, children singing, all is merry and bright. Hang your stockings and say your prayers, 'cause Santa Claus comes tonight. Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. I've got a bag that is filled with toys for the boys and girls again. To hear those sleigh bells jingle jangle, what a beautiful sight. Jump in bed, cover up your head, 'cause Santa Claus comes tonight. Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. I don't care if you're rich or poor, for I love you just the same. Santa knows that you're all children, and that makes everything right. So fill your heart with Christmas cheer, 'cause Santa Claus comes tonight.
Woo! Oh, that was awesome. Doug Paterson, everybody. Doug Paterson, a.k.a. Santa Claus, Victoria's own, who plays our beloved jolly old Saint Nick every Santa Claus parade. You may have seen him waving from Santa's sleigh. And so, yes, Doug is here with us today to speak about his role as Santa Claus.
All right. Well, I'm so glad that you got in touch with me. That's just wonderful. Being Santa has a lot of pluses for me. Of course, the first thing I notice is everybody's happy to see me, and that's not necessarily what happens the rest of the year. So that's a great pleasure. And I think for me, it's kids and dogs that I love to play with the most. They're just so true in their playfulness, and do you want to be my friend? Sure, let's play. Sure, and they're just ready to go. So I just love being with the kids. And when I'm doing the parade, of course, there's 50 or 60,000 people out there cheering me on, and the energy from the little kids, and wide-eyed and just so happy, shouting my name. It's sort of like being royalty for a brief hour. So what fun for me.
I can hear the twinkle in your eye. So I can tell you get a lot of joy out of it. Does it bring joy to your life?
It certainly does. And the other thing I've noticed over the years is, of course, Santa has to be sort of socially correct and can't discriminate against anybody. So basically, by having to be generous and kind to everybody, that alters my stance in the world, because I have to be on my best behavior all the time and greet people with some warmth and feeling, and it brings out my better qualities during the dark time of the year. So that's a side benefit for sure.
It's funny, that's how I feel hosting the show sometimes.
All right, nice. Yeah, good one.
So that's probably why I actually started doing this. So, yeah. So you're Santa Claus for one day of the year officially?
Well, it's just the big parade. That's my big event here in the city, and I've been doing that, I'm going to say 6 years. It might be 5. I'm not quite sure. But it's a huge event done by the Greater Victoria Festival Society. They also do the May Day Parade. And because there is no parade this year, I've been doing little shots in the community with the organizer, Kelly, trying to generate some food and money for the food banks in the various communities. So we've been out doing things and trying to get a little bit of a Christmas cheer going that way, because the parade wasn't available.
Yes, COVID has definitely changed a lot of things for us. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like you're adapting. It sounds like you're finding...
Well, yeah, I've found a few things to do. People are approaching me when and having this idea. I'm going to do, I think, a little film with a filmmaker in town about COVID and Santa. That's a maybe. And, of course, doing this with you, that's my first time doing that, so that's exciting. And doing little events. We were at the Penny Farthing the other day. I was singing some songs and interacting with a family there. And we were also at the Oak Bay Fire Hall, again, doing some promoting, and been at Dodd's Furniture and Mattress, and also the Helijet. So just little shots around the community. They'd all be on that website that the Greater Festival Society has. So if people want to see those, they could dial into that.
All right. Yeah, no, I've definitely, I just spoke with Kelly yesterday. So our last episode, for anyone listening, has the executive director of Greater Victoria Festival Society, and in the description, the website to follow for the Light Up the City campaign and all these other great events.
She does just a wonderful job, and financially, she's not getting all the support she needs, but she's still just plugging ahead and doing a great service for the community. So a round of applause for her, for sure.
Absolutely. I understand at this time of year there's a lot of need in our community.
Oh, it's just huge this year, of course, with COVID just giving a left and a right punch to most everybody financially. And no, people are really struggling, and the food banks are just crying out for donations.
Yes, so please, I encourage anyone listening to get out and donate, and I will include some links in the description for this video, this episode as well.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
And I believe there's some sponsorship. So I think like if everybody puts in $20, I think it's matched by someone, and so it's sort of $40 of food sort of idea. So it's a good way to donate.
Right, I had heard of that actually. I will do that this year.
Yeah. And actually a friend had a good idea, not one I've followed yet, but when you go to Thrifties, you can ask the tellers to put an amount of money towards food in the community, and when you go shopping, add another $10 to your bill if you're feeling affluent, and that's going to the needy people as well.
Absolutely. It's good to see this the festive Christmas holiday spirit sort of coming through and sort of shine some light into the darkness that has been COVID.
It's very true. And now, of course, more than ever, just trying to get people to cope is difficult. I know some days it's hard to get me to rise above it all. And one of the things that keeps me going is I have lots of Santa jokes up my sleeve. So everywhere I go, I throw a little joke here and there and try to get people smiling and laughing. And it's a nice way to spread a little Christmas cheer as well.
Well, you have to give us at least one now.
Okay. I got a real good deal on my sleigh this year. It was on the house.
Good, yeah. Wow, all right.
And you know how I get my sleigh so clean? I use Comet. So getting a little rise from people, a smile, absolutely. And most people are very appreciative because laughter and smiles are a little bit more in the dark room these days. So I try and encourage a little humor wherever I go.
Yeah, I remember from the days where. So for those listening, I first met Doug here at Crystal Pool, and you've always been sort of brought a good energy with you, and just a sort of a good disposition, and you're always amicable and sociable and trying to brighten people's day, just sort of, and that's when you're not even on duty, you're not even wearing the red Santa suit. So. Yeah,
well, it might be just a sort of a carryover from being Santa, where engaging with people in a friendly, kind, and generous way is part of doing the Santa role. So it's really good therapy for me, and other people seem to appreciate it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, there's some magic to it. I think that's nice when it rubs off on you and sort of becomes part of who you actually are.
Yeah, we need more magic these days. It's like for kids, of course, the magic of Christmas is what makes it so special. Believing that Santa's coming and meeting their heart's desires and giving them just that one special present. And there's a lot of magic associated with Santa and Christmas, and that's one of the things I really enjoy about it as well.
There really is, and I'm missing the parade already, just hearing it. My understanding is that if the Light Up the City campaign put on by the Greater Victoria Festival Society goes as was initially planned, where people could drive through and drop off the donations, you would be there waving and
I believe so. The details I'm a little bit not so sure about, because they're just sort of making it up as they go along. And I believe that with the houses that light up, and there's a bit of a contest still, I think is going on. And I believe Santa will be handing out a prize to the winning house, that sort of thing. Okay. And I'm still going to be at food banks around the city. I think this Monday I'm at one, though I'm not so sure.
Okay, sure. I'll get some more of that information possibly from Kelly and throw that.
That'd be great, yeah.
Moving on to some more serious questions. Not every day you get to interview Santa.
Yeah.
How does one become Santa Claus?
Well, I did a lot of music and drama and dance as a teacher for primary. And of course, each Christmas you have to throw something together. So I think that's what got me initiated with the projects. And then after I finished teaching with the little kids, I started singing for seniors. And I would do St. Patrick's Day and Valentine's Day and, of course, Christmas. So dressing up and singing Christmas carols, again, telling silly jokes. It's just been very well received. And I've been doing that for quite a few years now.
That I understand that's one of the things that you do as well as you run your own music business.
Yeah, I have a website, and I don't do computers actually, but my friend monitors it and has a site to promote my involvement in music. And for me, music is the international language, and I think for bringing people together, it's hard to match. You know, having people sing together, they're sort of breathing at the same time, and there's some magic, again, that occurs in choral singing and just people, I guess, breathing differently, you know, using the diaphragm changes how we feel. So, yeah, it's very important for the seniors to get that sort of energy that's positive, and it creates a nice atmosphere for them.
Absolutely, and that was sort of my main reason for asking, because as part of your musician sort of your role as a musician in the community, you do go to some senior homes, and regularly prior to COVID, you would play like once a week or something?
Sometimes, you know, it's sort of hit and miss, depending. There's quite a few musicians in town that pursue the same thing, and people like to spread it about, but you know, I get enough just to get me out of the house, and singing makes me feel better. You know, when I sing and play guitar, I always come home feeling better than when I left. So it's a very positive thing, and I think for building community, there's I believe 4 or 5 main components that holds up the rest of it, and that's the performing arts, singing and drama and dance. Storytelling is involved in that, and of course sharing food together. I think those are the posts that holds up community activity.
I never thought of that, and none of those really involve or require politics and religion, which are two very divisive things.
Yeah,
and
they can often divide more than unite, but I believe the performing arts, there's not any division included in that package, right?
Well,
you have to kind of cooperate to make it happen. You can't be the loudest singer in the choir, or, you know, the prima donna always in center stage. You have to work with other people to make it happen. And that's, I think, when the cooperative side of our nature comes into play.
That's interesting. Well, and I guess because there's nothing really seemingly personal at stake, perhaps. It's not you're defending your right to such and such a thing. And that's, again, part of the reason why I started this podcast in the first place, was sort of to help bridge some of the gaps between some of the disconnected perspectives in our society, and just sort of, again, I think COVID just sort of exacerbated and accelerated this issue of us all living these insular, sort of siloed lives. So,
well, we're sort of getting divided into A and B. It's you know, it's not the United States these days. It's the divided states, and that seems to be common in many parts of the world right now, where there's more dividing rather than uniting. And again, I think the performing arts always unites us, in my opinion. So it's critically important, and of course, often it's the first thing excluded from the curriculum as being frivolous. But I think it's important. It's very, very great.
Yeah, no, you're inspiring me I never thought of the 4 or 5 columns or pillars of community and food and performing arts, and just sort of how, yes, that transcends, you know, ethnicity, religion, race, color, creed, all that stuff. It's just sort of music and
well, you know, I have a fair bit of information on building community on my website, and that's musicwithdoug.ca. So there's Santa stuff there, but quite a bit of making community and pictures of me with seniors. So check that out. I think you might find it of some interest.
I will. Thank you, Doug. And I guess, yes, so moving on, I mean, I guess you are sort of in your, can I say without being disrespectful, sort of in your heading towards your more senior years. you're not 25 anymore, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
No, I turned 70 last December, and I think, again, doing these things and being involved in the community keep me with a younger perspective anyways. The body, perhaps not so much, but mentally and emotionally and spiritually, I'm, I think, uplifted by doing the music in the community.
I can imagine. I mean, you don't sound 70 when you're speaking, and I can just hear like I said, hear the twinkle in your eye, and I think
that's a good description. Thank you.
So who was essentially what I was getting to then is, because I love sort of Victoria and the history and our stories and who we are and where we come from. So part A of the question would be sort of, were you born and raised in Victoria? How did you come to sort of, and what was it like being in Victoria, say 30, 40, 50 years ago? And then part B, who was Doug before he was Santa Claus?
Yeah, well, I've had a variety of careers over the years. When I was a young man, not as smart as I am today, I don't think, but full of vim and vigor. I did a lot of construction and mining and pipelining and all those sorts of things because they gave me monetary benefits. But my first career was really outdoor education, and I worked for a long time up with Strathcona Park Lodge and teaching kids and adults just about the environment and the importance of being outside. And you've probably heard the Japanese phrase about, I hope I can get it right, but being outside is sort of like a healing journey. They have a different name for it, but being outside certainly makes me happier than being inside. And the sense of nature and just being involved and, just being outside is very important to me. It's one of my favorite places.
Absolutely. I think it might have initially possibly been a Japanese concept for forest bathing.
Yeah, that's what it is. Thank you. I didn't have it at the tip of my tongue. You got it exactly right.
Oh, I wasn't sure if that was the thing. I've heard of forest bathing, for instance, and going out into nature and just sort of that rejuvenation, and absolutely. So
yeah, no, there's so much going on in nature, and it took me a while actually to realize this. But year after year, I used to do some wilderness camping out on the outside of Vancouver Island, and there's just nothing out there but us. And after a while, what I began to really appreciate was the sound of silence. There's no noise in my environment except to what I'm making. So if I'm sitting quietly, the environment comes to me. And then instead of pushing away, sound and noise and people, I'm sort of attracting it in. And that changes my stance in the world when I'm being open to what's present rather than pushing it away, right?
Wow. I didn't know that I was going to get so much philosophy out of this. I'm taking mental notes. True.
Well, I've always been a keen one for philosophy because your belief system often sends you on your paths through life. So
absolutely. Shifting gears here. Again, these questions are sort of coming to me organically. Feel free to backtrack or something if you'd like. But this question in particular. Again, because I love history, I'm a student of history. Christmas is in Victoria. Christmas is past. I've heard stories about people going up to Mount Doug to chop down Christmas trees and things like that. How long? Have you always lived in Victoria?
No, actually, I was raised in White Rock. I spent all my school years there. And then after dabbling a little bit in Vancouver, I decided that Vancouver Island was the place I wished to spend time. And I started up in Courtenay and again up at Strathcona Park Lodge, working up in that area a lot and doing trips out to the coast and climbing up in the glaciers and, just trying to introduce kids to the joy of nature. And so I lived in the north part of the island, middle of the island, I guess, for quite a while. And then eventually decided that Victoria was where I would like to spend my time. And I did do some international work in outdoor center in New Zealand and that sort of place. But Victoria was the place I wanted to settle down because it had enough sort of interesting things to do, but it still wasn't so big and a little bit sleepy with a wonderful climate. So Victoria is just one of the best cities in the world, according to some survey they did a few years ago. I can't say what their criteria was, but they rated Victoria as the second best city in the world.
Wow. Well, I interviewed Roshan Vickery. He's one of the candidates for the upcoming by-election. And you can anyone is welcome to listen to that. It's episode 13, and he was speaking about how Victoria is one of the top 5 cities in the world for its size.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's definitely, and again, that's why it's such a popular city. Is we've got this beautiful climate and access to nature and arts and culture scene, restaurants, and so on and so forth.
Well, apparently the towns like Vancouver and Victoria have a little healthier rate than the average across Canada because the weather's so good. People get outside more.
Absolutely, I noticed because I grew up on the prairies and then moved to Ontario and then finally made it out here, and just everybody sort of seems. I think it attracts a lot of Canadians from other parts of Canada who like to engage in sort of a fit, healthy outdoor lifestyle. So we just have
it sure does.
Disproportionate amount of healthy individuals out here.
yeah, and that of course alters your framework and how you view the world too, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess sort of segueing back, the quest. So Christmas is so I'm 33 years old. I've seen a number of Christmases in my time. But I mean, how has Christmas changed sort of through your lens? What have you seen sort of 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, in terms of maybe the consumerism or the way that we, do we chop down our trees anymore, or traditions or family getting together, or is our friends the new family sort of, what have you noticed?
Well, of course, Canada being so big, often people don't have their families in the same location. So that's when I was a child, Christmases were pretty much always involved with family. And then for my generation, it was singing carols with the piano after a big Christmas feed. That was sort of, again, the big event, singing together. And it seems that as people have got a little bit more separated in parts of the continent or further away, that the family Christmases has sort of diminished over the decades. And I think people still want it and desire it. And of course, with COVID, you're fighting two wishes. You want to be safe, but you want to be spending time with your family, just like always. So it's a hard pull.
Yeah, I hope people can sort of make use of technology for this season. It sounds like I sort of embraced the Zoom type meetups, and so far so good. But I understand there are folks who that just doesn't work for, and yeah.
Well, I don't know if you've heard this, but apparently we don't get our adult brain till about 27, 28 often. And of course, with an adult brain, I think we're willing to take more responsibility for our actions than when we have sort of a child's brain. So I think age group has something to do with that. Not totally, of course. There's people who aren't into complying at all ages, but I think the young struggle with it more because they're more sort of thinking about themselves rather than a larger sense of community.
Yeah, and I guess too, I meant sort of in terms of embracing the technology for meeting up this Christmas. I mean, it really isn't for everybody. Like, if you're say 80 years old, or like my grandfather's 91, he's in a home in Nanaimo, and he's slowly, painfully learned how to use his iPad, but it's not something that works for everybody, right? Like it's kind of all or nothing. Like if I can't see and hug my grandchildren, I don't really want anything to do with it. So I understand that there are folks like that out there. So I don't want to, say, everybody should get on with the digital Christmas. But for me, that's what we'll be doing. So,
well, touch is so important to us, and I think we all crave and desire it, and probably few of us get as much as we'd like to have. But often you get more of that around Christmas with family hugs and that sort of thing, So of course, we're now living in a time of touching is a no-no, and people's emotional needs are not being met to the same degree as they could have in the past.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the fears, I guess, having young children. I have a 3-year-old boy, and he's hugs, no, and don't get too close to those faces, and untrain all that in a few years. So, yeah. Well,
I'm sorry to say, it looks like COVID's going to be with us for at least another year, and it might just spring back. But hopefully, with the vaccine, people will be in better shape for it a year from now.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I mean, I'm positive for that. So we'll see. So I can't really think of too much else to ask. What do you know about? This is a random question. What do you know about Saint Nicholas and the story of Santa Claus?
Well, there's a tradition in most cultures, particularly the Northern Europeans and stuff. And one of the first Santas was actually Thor being pulled by a goat in his sleigh with his hammer in his hand. And so that image goes back a long time. And of course, there's a black Santa involved in, I think it was Spain and perhaps Holland, and St. Nicholas. So the tradition goes back really a long time. I did buy a Santa book to boon up on it a little bit. And two things that really impressed me was in India, they did a sandcastle of Santa 100 feet long. Wow. And colored it all up. And that was quite an accomplishment. And then there is another picture of Santa scuba diving, which I also like to do. And I've thought of getting a red hat and a suit and doing it myself, but just Santa suit scuba diving, So there's lots of different Santas all over the world, and everybody just likes celebrating this dark time of the year because they know that the light is finally starting to return, and that's probably been the biggest celebration is the solstice. And I think pretty much all cultures shared that. They say, oh yeah, the dark times are finished, and the light's returning, and we can rejoice and party and have a good time.
Absolutely, and that is December 20th or something?
Yeah.
So, no, things to look forward to. And I just, back to the image of Santa, it's so ubiquitous in every culture around the world, the Santa runs, and, it's just so nice to see something that's sort of universal and embracing for everybody. Yeah,
there's Santa gatherings. I've never done one, but I think the Santas with real beards feel slightly superior to the Santas with artificial beards. But there's gatherings, and there's two schools. One I think is in Alberta, and another one I think it's California. Don't quote me on that, but people like to do this because Santa around the world is known for kindness and generosity, and people can buy into that quite easily.
Absolutely, and kids, the way their faces shine, kids when their faces light up when they see Santa, it's magic. And you get to experience that. That's great. So
yeah, it's good fun. I really enjoy it, and of course, as a man with no children or grandchildren, it's just such a treasure to have children, and not all of them want to do this, but come up and sit on my lap and tell me what they want for Christmas. And often I'm not even sure what the toys are, but I just nod sagely. And, the parents are usually listening, thank goodness, so that they can decipher the code. But, for kids to get their heart's desire on a day in the future, it's just so exciting.
It really is. And it's funny just how quickly and how young they are when they already sort of are able to articulate, what they want. And, it's pretty cute. Sometimes it's a very small thing. And sometimes it's, some larger thing that they've put a lot of thought into. And
well, I remember as a young kid, and I think this is true for other kids, it was the wrapping paper that was the most exciting thing, right? All these bright colors and sparkles, and playing with the wrapping paper was kind of the pleasure of the day when I was maybe 3 or 4 or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's kind of still the case. Sometimes the box and the string attached to it and all that kind of stuff is more the attraction.
Yeah.
What are some of are there any that stick out? Any sort of requests for gifts that have sort of been memorable?
That's a tough one. I'm not sure if I can give you anything too specific. It's not like kids are usually thinking of peace on earth and goodwill to all people. They're usually thinking of that special toy. And no, I don't think I can answer that one.
Fair enough. My other question was, has any child ever, and I tried this, I'm ashamed to say, when we lived in Calgary, tugging on Santa's beard to see if it's real or not.
they want to do that. And children, particularly, I guess, on the female side of the fence, are quite intrigued by big beards because that's not a big part of our culture, is a lot of big beards. So, they like to give it a tug or want to know if it's real, Yeah. I never used to like my beard, but it grew on me.
Yeah, well, and to anyone listening, Doug has a very impressive white beard, which is why I think you're probably the best image of Santa Claus in the city. So
thank you. I do try and look the part.
Do you have like gold? What else? Other accoutrements? And how did you source them? Like gold rimmed glasses or your suit? Like, what's the story of your suit? Anything?
Yeah, I have sort of roundish glasses, which is sort of the Santa look, and the suit is pretty traditional. Often I would wear some horse bells around my neck, just as part of my signature. And I have the little wrist bells from childhood music and on my wrist. So the ringing of bells is a big part of Christmas, and people really enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I just picture horses pulling sleighs in the snow when I hear that. So,
well, a lot of the old carols are that with sleigh rides and being in the snow, because so much of Canada, that's how you would have visited, is hop on the horses and the sleigh, and off you go to see the neighbors.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, unless you have anything else that you would like to say or inform us about, would you like to play us one more number, and then
I would.
Yeah?
One of my favorite songs, and it's an unusual one because it was written on a hot August day in the southern states, and people were dreaming of cooler weather and thinking of all the specialness of Christmas, and it's chestnuts roasting on an ocean fire, and it's very challenging to play. I don't know if I can play it perfectly, but I would like to give you the try.
Absolutely, please do.
Okay, here we go. Well, chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, Yuletime carols being sung by a choir, and folks dressed up like Eskimos. Everybody knows a turkey and some mistletoe help to make the seasons bright. Tiny tots with their hides all aglow will find it hard to sleep tonight. They know that Santa's on his way. He's loaded lots of toys and goodies on his sleigh, and every mother's child is gonna spy to see if reindeer really know how to fly. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.